pretending like he was getting it from God. It's a gimmick. But there is a reality to ESP, remote viewing, clairvoyance, psychic readings, telekinesis, being able to move objects with your mind. There is a reality to it. How does that happen? Download the King James Fear Bible Search software. I think I read that version 2.0 is going to come out probably in July. Pray for Donna and the work she's doing. Praise the Lord. She's working on the Android part of it. I'm in awe. But anyway, and look at the term familiar spirit or familiar spirits. Someone who hath familiar spirits. You are not, let me give you one example of that. Let me move my papers here. Type in the word familiar, and that's interesting. Leviticus 19:31, regard not them that have familiar spirits. Our own government in operating these things is actually that's just another can of gas poured onto America that's going to cause her to explode one of these days, because we are it's like America hates God. And so God said, don't consult those that have familiar spirits. And let me show you how it works. You get in contact. I want you to get in contact with my dead aunt. Okay? So the medium goes, I see her. And the medium, if she's fake if she's real, she's in contact with a spirit who knew your aunt, knows everything about her, was standing there when your aunt showed you where she kept the $500,000 hidden in her house, and you can't remember it. There was a spirit standing there listening and knows all this stuff. That's what the idea of familiar spirit is. It was a familiar spirit that Saul, S-A-U-L, saw, S-A-W, when he went to the witch of Endor. It was not Samuel. It was a familiar spirit. Because the gods, she said, I see the gods coming up out of the ground. Duh. Familiar spirit. And so anyway, but that's how that works. And what basically is happening is the government military complex in our country, and probably other countries as well. Iran's probably got some of that going on their own, using witchcraft, using sorcery, using wizardry to gain a military advantage. It's been happening, still is happening. Great article. I appreciate Michelle sending me that. And then here's DARPA. Pentagon's Blue Sky Research Agency is studying a nearly 4-year project to boost artificial intelligence systems by building machines that can teach themselves while making it easier for ordinary schlubs like us to build them too. Now, in defense of the government, I will say that this is probably very vital and necessary to have computers with artificial intelligence, seeing as how there is no real natural intelligence anywhere in Washington, D.C. So I feel sorry for them, and so I think they should have some artificial intelligence, because they certainly don't have it on their own. When DARPA talks about AI, artificial intelligence, it's not talking about modeling computers after the human brain. That path fell out of favor among computer scientists years ago as a means of creating artificial intelligence. Let's see here. We'd have to understand our own brains first before building a working artificial version of one. But the agency thinks we can build machines that learn and, here we go, evolve using algorithms, created obviously along with the internet by Al Gore. We can build machines that learn and evolve using algorithms. Probabilistic programming is what it's called, to parse through vast amounts of data and select the best of it. Now stop right here. That's what made Google Google. Because if you remember, Before Google, there was a search engine called Yahoo. Okay? Let's see here. I'm trying to get it. All right, that's anyway. Before Google, there was Yahoo. And before that, I remember buying a book. It was like this thick, and it was called the Internet Telephone Book. And this is back in the 90s. And you look through there for websites. Wow. And then you had a search engine. You could go to Yahoo and type in something, and, 4 billion results would come up, and you had to really fish through them to get the right thing. Well, the guys who started Google came up with an algorithm based upon Al Gore himself, and it was the idea that the computer, the software, was actually trying to figure out what you were really looking for. Instead of being a dumb, blind search engine like the rest of them were, Google was actually going to try to figure out what you were actually looking for based upon what you had typed in. And then, of course, right after that, they started remembering what you typed in the last time and was trying to put it together based upon what they already knew about you. So the software evolved. But it was writers who evolved the software. And if you've ever gone to Google, started to type something in, if you'll notice, you got a list of possibilities that they think that you're probably going to pick. If you remember the scene where Neo is talking to the architect, and up on the screens is all these possible and probable outcomes of what Neo was going to say and do, and because the computer was figuring out every possible scenario based upon the stimuli of what was going on at that time, in order to guess and say, you're probably going to say this now. And this is the kind of technology that we're talking about. The ability for computers to evolve. And again, I've seen that movie. I've seen all of those movies. And all of them turn out bad. All of them. All of them end up with us being terminated. All of them end up with us being controlled. All of them end up with the computers being gods instead of the servants to mankind. That's how that ends up. Why are we still doing that? I have to take my glasses off for this one. Along with that, you remember Ray Kurzweil. This is from the Mail Online, dailymail.co.uk. In just over 30 years, humans would be able to upload their entire minds to computers and become digitally immortal. An event called Singularity, according to a futurist from Google, Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil works for Google now. And I didn't know that until today. To me, that is extremely interesting, that Ray Kurzweil works for Google. Google goes to the Bilderberg meeting. Google is, if there is a company that is New World Order, Google wants to be first in line. So they've got Ray Kurzweil working for them. Ray Kurzweil is a futurist. Ray Kurzweil is a genius. If you've ever played a Kurzweil electronic piano, you've heard probably what amounts to the best synthesis of a real grand piano that I think I've ever heard in my life. The sounds of a Kurzweil piano, I don't think have been matched. I don't know. I haven't heard all of them. But I've played other electric pianos, including the one I have on stage. It's not all that great. But I've played Kurzweil before, and they're just amazing. So the guy's smart. He knows what he's talking about. He's the one that talked about in Time magazine, we're going to be immortal by 2045. Does he know what he's talking about? I think he does. And so here he is. He's the director of engineering at Google. He also claims that biological parts of our body will be replaced with mechanical parts, and this could happen as early as 2100. Kurzweil made the claims during his conference speech at the Global Futures 2045 International Congress in New York at the weekend. so just think about, we are desperately, as a species, doing everything we can to try to extend our life infinitely. Why? Because, and they say, well, we're trying to cheat death. No, we're not trying to cheat death. We're trying to cheat sin. That's what we're trying to cheat. We're trying to circumvent a curse that was placed upon us in the Garden of Eden. We're trying to circumvent that because God told us, and yes, He told all of us. What are you saying, Mike? It was just only Adam. Have you not read what Paul said about Abraham and Levi? This, to me, when I read this, I'm going, oh. Do you remember when Abraham paid tithes to Melchizedek, the king of Salem? Did you know that Paul said that Levi paid tithes to Melchizedek while he was in Abraham? That blows my mind. God, and you see here's Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Levi. Fourth generation, 3 generations down from Abraham. And yet the Bible, and this is just mind-boggling. God knew that Levi was in Abraham's loins. Blows me away. So, where was you and I when Adam sinned? We were there, in Adam's loins. Absolutely amazing. So we sinned. We sinned in the Garden of Eden. As by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin. That's why, and how do I know that? Because so far, everybody that's ever been born has died. And so, in Genesis chapter 2, God said, in the day you eat it thereof, ye shall surely die. Adam said, okay. He died in a day, 1,000 years. He was 930 years old. He never lived out the day, 1,000 years. And so we're trying to cheat sin. We're just trying to do what everybody else out there who is not relying upon Christ is doing. We're trying to pretend that we can willfully sin. We can do whatever we want to. We can be sodomites, we can be fornicators, we can curse, we can be atheists, we can curse God, we can curse everybody else, we can be murderers, we can do whatever we want to and not suffer any consequences like O.J. Simpson. We can get away with it. It's not going to happen to us. That's what we're trying to do. We are trying to cheat on the curse that God put on us. Or actually, we put it on ourselves. And that's what this is about. And so we're trying to come up with ways of doing it genetically, biology. We're trying to come up with ways of doing it technologically. You uploading the entire contents of your mind and consciousness into a computer so that you can literally live infinitely. Unreal. Unreal where we're going. And just think about now.